was one of the lessons that we learned, not only in terms of memory, which we in the U.S. really don't do a lot of. The British do it, I think, the most. By the time they get out of grade school, they have memorized just pages and pages of Shakespeare. And I'm probably going to do maybe one or two Shakespeare pieces. One of them kind of based on Gowron, because I had a unique thing going on. When I first got Gowron, I was doing a Shakespeare play at the time, and they were, well, I'll get to that later. But anyway, what the Jabberwocky's about is a journey, and we're all going on journeys all the time, all of us. And all the great writing basically is about our journeys through life and what we do and where we go. And Star Trek is no exception to that journey. There's my journey. If a lot of you, I've known you for 20 years, 30 years, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's the family of Star Trek. And some of you know that about 21 years ago, I had 3 little boys born to me, triplet sons. Well, you know, we Klingons do it a little differently. You know? And it was an eye-opening experience for an Irish bachelor to all of a sudden get married and then to have 3 children all at once. And in having the 3 children, they were really small. They were about 2 pounds apiece. And when they were first born, and they were fine, health-wise, we took care of them, everything was good. They got to be about 1.5 years, and the state of California at the time, I don't know if they still do it, they send you a developmentalist. It's like a person who specializes in development, because they found that the state of California, with multiples, ended up paying more money if they didn't do something like this, in terms of safety, in terms of letting them know, you know, letting parents know what it's like to have so many under one roof at the same time. I mean, one day, one feeding would be like 27 medications at once. So it was like really, so we had learned that before the developmentalist. But she came into the house, she was really sweet, she was a nice lady, and she said, well, you have 3 boys. So I used this example. She brought out a stick, just a simple stick that was off a tree, cut off a tree, and she said, this is a stick, okay? Now, I'm going to give the stick to a little girl who's about 1.5 years older, 2 years old, and she gets the little stick. And this is what the lady did. Oh, stick! Oh, beautiful stick! Oh, lovely stick! Oh, wonderful! And mommy will make it fuzzy, and daddy will paint it and make it beautiful! And I will go and make everything beautiful. That's the little girl. Now, she said, you give it to a little boy, the same stick, 1.5 to 2 years old. Stick. Ah, stick. Stop. Hook. This is the nature of the beast, okay? Little boys. So, I tell this story only to go into another story, which I am dutifully making dinner for a bunch of them. Maybe it was lunch, maybe it was a snack, I don't know what it was. I'm in the kitchen doing it. And there's one thing any parent can tell you. There's one dreaded moment always in the household of any house filled with children, and that is silence. Silence, right away. If you hear silence, you're in a lot of trouble, because they are too. So anyway, I hear silence, and I go, uh-oh, okay. Start drying my hands off, and I start in for the, and then all of a sudden I hear, ah, woo, woogie, woohoo, wah. And I went, went, okay, everything's okay. I go back to doing what I'm doing. Same thing happens. About 2 minutes later, silence. I don't go right away because, I had to dry my hands off, and I wait a little bit longer, but I go, still silence. I go, okay, all right, Jesus, all right. I go back and I do it again. Same damn thing happens, okay? So I go, all right, okay. This time I'm going in, I go. And they're all smiling, and I peek my head around the corner, I go, all okay? And they all go,
yeah, everything's fine. Okay, bye.
no, what's going on here, guys? What's going on here?
Nothing.
And then the other guy looks at the other guy and he goes,
Nothing.
and then the other guy looks at the other guy.
Nothing.
Now I know something's happening. When they all say nothing exactly the same way, you know they're lying. Anyway, so but they're so cute and sweet. So I said, well, I know something's going on. What's going on with you guys? He said, and one of them goes, oh, we play. Oh, that's it. You're playing. Oh, well, that's sweet. Maybe I'll get him to talk with the sweet end of his stick. Yes, we play. They all start going. Okay, what you play? Absolute silence now. What we play? And they're a little panicking, and I go, yeah. If you play, what you play? We play a game. Oh, you play a game. Can I see your game? And they go, Gowron eyes, all three. They start laughing. One of them started laughing. You want to play a game? Yes, I want to play the game. Could I play the game with you? Now his voice changes. This is how his voice changed from the to yes. And I went, okay. And he goes, come. Kind of weird, but so. I come into the room and I go, okay, how do we play the game? I can play the game with you. Come down. You want me to come down near you? Yes. It's freaking me out. He's a 2-year-old. He's got, So I go, okay, so I come down and I play the game with you. Is that right? And he says, yes. And then, so I went down to his level. And he said, and he looks at me and he goes, and they start giggling again, So, okay, I want to play a game with you. Can we play now? Yes. And I say, okay, let's play the game. And he goes, closer. I have to get closer to you to play the game? Yes, closer. It's getting scary. So I get closer, and he said, no, closer. So I come closer. And I'm on my knees. Remember, I'm down on the ground with him. And he goes, you still want to play? Yes, I want to play. I want to play your game. You want to play a game? And then they start giggling again. Okay. We play game? Yes. We play game now? Closer. And I go like this, and now I'm like that far from him. Okay? And he goes, I said, what's the name of your game? And he goes, Poke Eye. And I said, Poke Eye? He said, yes. Boom! He poked me in the eye. I had to go to the hospital. It was like he had just taken a big marlin and sucked me in. Or in this case, a big Klingon and sucked me in. It was like, they were playing a game that they had created called Poke. So anyway, anyway, they have grown older, not much wiser, but that's just being young and having fun, I guess. And they're going to be 21, so that's pretty good. Well, I hope not, and so it really has been a lot of fun, bringing them up, playing baseball, a lot of baseball with them. One still plays. They're all in college right now, so it's all good. And I'm still a Klingon. Here I am. So, and do we have questions? Any questions? Yes?
Are they still super close, your triplets?
It's funny that they're very different. They're extremely different. We have a studious one, the other two are athletic. And one plays baseball for college team. And two of them go to the same school, and one of them, but when they get together, what's going on now is they're getting closer again. They separated, particularly in high school, they got really distant from each other. And now they're getting sort of, as they come home for the holidays, they're close. But they still go their separate way when they get home. One guy will go out, one guy will stay home, one guy will, do something else. But it's interesting. They all have very, very distinct personalities, and it's all good. There was one story that when they were kids, when they were that age, I would teach them. You teach them anything. They're vacuum cleaners. They will learn anything. We got to watch out what you teach them. But I taught them rock, paper, scissors. Okay, and then I showed them how to do it, each one individually, and they all watched, each lesson, with wonder of this new game. And so then I let two of them play each other. I gave up watching the game that they played after 26 times of saying the exact same thing. Rock, paper, scissors. What paper, that's paper. But it was, and I went, well, I guess you guys can't play that game for a while until you get different, So it was a fun experience. Then I went to, way before kids, becoming an actor, I went to, I grew up in New York City. I don't know if you guys all know that, but I did. And it was just a great experience growing up in New York. It was fun. It was crazy. People look at me and they go, childhood in New York City, Manhattan. Yeah. We had a ball because on a rainy day I could go to the Metropolitan Museum. And it was like the Metropolitan Museum had mummies and naked ladies on the wall. What could be better? And my grandmother was pretty funny. She was very, very religious, and people say, well, why did you get interested in acting? And really, I ran from acting as long as I could, and then gave up, and it got me. It caught up with me. But one of the early experiences in my life was going to a lot of plays, and the first one I ever went to was a play called Becket. My grandmother was religious, and she said, oh, it's St. Becket, so I will take him to see St. Becket, because that's a religious play. Little did she know that Becket wasn't always a saint. And so she got really good seats. In those days, you had to get dressed up to go to the theater. I had to get dressed up. My grandmother took me. It was a big occasion. I was like 10 years old. And we're sitting there, and the curtain opens, and there's and these were really well-known actors, and one of them was Becket, and one of them was the king, and then there were two naked ladies on the stage with them, running around. And my grandmother, who's very religious, as I've already pointed out, was like, woo! And then her hands immediately went in front of my face. And the whole rest of the first scene was me going. I kind of like this theater stuff. It's kind of okay, you know. So that was my introduction. And then, of course, I went to other shows, you know, Music Man, and they sang the famous song, 76 Klingons parade with 110 Ferengi. Anyway, there were lots of plays that I went to, probably over 30 plays in my youth. So I had it ingrained in me. And Bonnie Frederici. She was part of an acting group I was in, the Colony Theater for many years, and so was John Larroquette, who also played a Klingon, and somebody else. But anyway, it was a great company while it lasted. Other questions? Anybody? Yeah.
What were the scenes like filming the fight between you and War?
What was it like filming the fight scenes between me and it was the one that probably, besides the one that I died in, which I try to ignore, but the one with all the flames around us, and that was a really big one. It was like, it was over 20 moves. It's the way we think in terms of, I did a lot of stage fighting, and you think in terms of some fights as how many moves you have to make and stuff like that. And we were being cooked on a stage. It was probably 90 degrees in the sound stage, but with those flames around us as we fought, it was about 110, you know, in Klingon garb, you know, and all the, I think I probably lost about 12 pounds that day. It was pretty bad. But the joy of it was that same show, that same day, we had Cole Meany in Klingon, we had the captain in Klingon, we had Renee Benoit in Klingon, and it was like, and they were crying like babies. No, I am kidding, but I'm not kidding. It was you know, Colm said, "You better write me out of this," with his Irish accent. And he wouldn't get back in the Klingon garbage. So at least all the years I've been telling them how hard it was, they were okay, we believe you. So, but getting back to the fight itself, we break it down. The stunt guys work on it all week. We can't because we're doing the show. But they go off and they practice it. And, you know, they'll take like maybe 2 days to practice it, maybe a couple hours each day. Then they come and they do the master. They might do a couple of interior 2 shots. And the master is the whole fight, you know, from a bit of a distance. So they can always cut back to that. And then what they did with us is we'll take 4 moves at a time, sometimes 2. And the 2 is when you've got an over the shoulder shot. You know, the cameras are put on and they film like that. So it's real close-ups. And they'll reverse it. Worf will do it, Michael Dorn will do it, you know, and the camera will be on him, and I'll do the moves, you know. And they can edit it any way they want that, but they really shoot the heck out of it. So you're there all day, basically doing it. And then at the very end of the day, I think JG came in and got wiped out, you know, because he was everybody was thinking, and we didn't know, you know, in that script who was going to be, what do they call those people? Yeah, we didn't know who the changeling was. It was always JG or me, but they wouldn't tell us who it was. Because I don't think they had made up their mind. Because if it was me, I was gone from the series. If it was JG, they could probably bring it back, you know. So I was like, well, this might be the last day of Gowron. But I lived to tell another story for how many more years? About 2 more years. So it was all good for me. But that's how fights are worked. I've done a lot of the fights with that, but I did stage fighting. Matter of fact, the show that I got put in I was doing Shakespeare downtown LA in a 700-seat theater, and I was doing stage fighting there, but I had been trained in heavy stage fighting, and I was actually using a broadsword in that show, and it was broadsword's another thing entirely, because when you throw a broadsword, you can't stop it. You can stop most other, batleths are kind of, easy to, or at least easy to put somewhere else. But a broadsword, once the move is made, if that actor is in the wrong place, he's going to get badly hurt. So, but, broadsword is pretty dangerous stuff, but that's what we used in the show I was doing, which is King Lear, and it was Edmund. And there were a lot of things that were similar, very similar between Gowron and Edmund. So I'm just going to go into the monologue that I do in Edmund, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need this. I got Gowron's voice. You nature of my goddess, to your laws my services are bound. Wherefore should I stand in the place of custom and permit the curiosity of nations to deprive me because I had some 12 or 14 moonshines lack of a brother? Why bastard? Wherefore base? When my dimensions are as well compact, my mind as generous, and my shape as true as honest madams issue, why brand they us with base? 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 When there must be spirit of nature take more composition and fierce quality than does within a dull, stale, tired bed. Go to creating a whole tribe of thought, got between the sleep and awake. Well then, my legitimate Edgar, I must have one. A father's love is to the bastard Edgar, as to the legitimate. Fine word, legitimate. Well then, my legitimate. If this letter speeds and my inventions thrive, then Edmund the Base shall talk. Legitimate. I grow. I prosper. Now, gods, stand up for bastards. Edmund. What I found was that Edmund, there were a lot of similarities between Edmund and, because of this book I got, you get a book on a character, he's a new character. And the book on Gowron, and actually the first name of Gowron was Gowron. And the book I got was that he's an outsider. He's not accepted by the Klingon Empire, but he is in line for the taking over, or the Duras is one of the families. And since I was the only one left of my family, then I was the sole heir, or the Duras were. So that's why it came down to us. But I was always considered the outsider, which Edmund is considered the outsider and low-born. And so it was like, and plus they both end up taking over, or Edmund gets the similarities, and I'd done Lear for about 6 weeks, I think, in downtown LA. It was a 700-seat theater. And I come into the audition, and Frakes looks at me and he goes, oh, okay, well. Now they said Machiavellian, too. This guy was Machiavellian. So, to me, Machiavellian is a thoughtful kind of internal guy. And I did it that way, and they were all sleeping by the time I finished the scene. And Frakes said to me, he said, could you make this more Klingon? Could you, like, go? I said, yeah, sure. You know, and so I turned around, and I had bored them the first reading, and I turned around, and I knew what he was talking about. And he went, that was like, Frakes went, yeah. And then they turned around, and Berman was on the ceiling. They peeled him off. But anyway, I ended up getting it. When I got to the set, I read the scene. I rehearsed the scene. I didn't go all out, but I read the scene. He said, Bob, no. This is Blake, because he was the director. He said, yeah, do that thing with the eyes. And I went, okay. Yeah. What thing with the eyes? Oh, I'm an actor. I don't look at myself, you know. And he said, oh, no, not one of those kinds of actors. You know, I said, the eyes. I went, you mean this? Do it now. Yeah. Do that all the time. Do that all the time. All the time. So I get to the set, you know, and it's like, okay, this is good? Yeah, it's good. Yeah, keep it all the time. And so all the way through that show, I did it all the time pretty much. And it worked great. And Frakes was, I mean, absolutely right. It was scary. Then I get to the next show because, you know, I'm still in, you haven't killed me off yet. What's the half-life on leader? I always figured about 2 minutes. But I lasted longer than that. But I get on the next set with a different director, and he goes, oh, don't do that eye stuff. And I go, it's kind of the character, you know? But I don't want it. I go, so I try to sneak it in whenever. Because you want to hear print at the end of it, you know. Print, you know, then you move on. You did your eye thing, you know. And I didn't want to get too much attention on it because you'll lose your acting, you know. Thinking about your silly eyes all the time. And that's why actors don't do that, you know. You don't want to think of an ear, you know, or the hair on your nose, you know. It's like it just takes you out of the moment of when you're actually supposed to be there. But it was funny, and it's all true. I mean, so many things happen on Star Trek that were sort of true. Some of them are not so true, but they're good stories. Patrick and I doing a scene together, and you have Klingon teeth, you have phony teeth. You know, you have to put in your teeth, and that's what you do. You put in your teeth, and you're talking, and you're angry, and you're a Klingon, and Patrick's angry, and he's yelling at me, and I'm yelling at him, and he's going, and I'm still yelling, and all of a sudden I go, I feel like a bubble in the tooth, you know, and that means it's getting under your gum, it's getting in your gum, and you're going to lose your teeth pretty soon, and I'm yelling and yelling and yelling, and all of a sudden it's like the teeth come flying out. Woman, go get your teeth. Kind of a fit, you know. It's fun. But all sorts of stuff, you know, on the set. That's crazy. Yeah.
What's the difference in working from Next Generation to Deep Space Nine, and then also compare that with working on the movie?
Oh, okay. Well, the difference, it was a very light set on Next Gen. And part of it was the writing. Even you'd walk into a bright set with Next Gen, and you walk into Deep Space, and it was pretty much a dark set. You know, there was the bar, and there were, you know, the exteriors were always dark, and where you had, I gotta say, it's like you had these great clowns, you know? I mean, find her is hysterical, you know. The girls were more serious on that set, but they were funny too. I mean, everybody was funny and having fun. And they became, and there's some kind of a story, I don't know how true it is, but Patrick got mad at them once because they were all joking around all the time. They said, we have to be serious actors, you know. And when I got on the set, I was like him. I was very simpatico with him. He was like, thank God. I think he thought, thank God I got one of me on. You know, it's the two of us against everybody. But, not really, but he's a very, very wonderful professional, as they all were on that set. And the same thing with the other group actors too. The talent on both of those shows was extreme. I think practically everybody had done a lot of Shakespeare, you know, on both, you know, casts. Rene Auberjonois is probably one of the premier stage actors of all, of even, well, Patrick and him, put it that way. He was ACT for many, many years. He's on Broadway. He's like, the French consider him one of the most talented people in the physical, you know. He can do scenes standing like this, you know. He's like, he's got that body thing down to, it's a French type of theater that is just extraordinary. And he's quite a guy, but they're all great, great actors. But it was, Next Gen, I mean, Deep Space was a much heavier, conflicted actors who were working like this, where Next Gen was, aha, you know, let's go from space plates to space plates, you know? And the other one was, let's go to war. And that's the way it was, you know, which had really got away from the original Star Trek stuff. You know? But I wanted that, wanted to see the other side of the world, of the Earth. I hear there's something in space that they don't know what it is now. Have you heard that? Just today. It's like there's something out there and they can't figure out what it is. So maybe they're coming for it. Whoopee! My teeth. I got to keep my teeth. There's Michael Westmore gave me the teeth because I've been doing it so long, and then I went into Deep Space. So I've been doing it 10 years, and he started after about the third or fourth year. He trusted me. He said, "You bring it home, you know, every day you'll be in better shape than we will." And so I did that, and one day, I'm on the set, and I went, I'm already in makeup, and I said, get Michael. Michael was just in the other room, and I said, what's the matter? I said, and I had done kind of actor fingers for him in the sense of, wouldn't obey a makeup man one day, and because the makeup man said, he started putting on my prosthetic on my forehead, and I said, that's the wrong prosthetic. That's not Gowron. And he said, just be quiet. I know what I'm doing. And I said, no, you don't, because that's not my character. I said, if you get me in it, it's going to cost out, you know, extra hours. I said, he said, I'm going to put it on. You just sit quiet. You're the actor. You're supposed to do what I say. I said, yes, in normal cases. This is not normal. Go get Westmore. So Westmore came in, looked at it, and he said, that's not his headpiece. Listen to the actor. You know, but I could have shut up, and that was, anyway. So Michael and I really trusted each other. And I said, Michael, I forgot my shoes. He said, well, we got you ready early. You got an hour and 15 minutes. Can we get there and back in an hour and 15 minutes? Am I up? And 20 minutes away from the house, I was up to the border. He said, go. Now, you're not allowed to go up a lot to make it, you know. But the guy looked at me and he goes, you're coming back, right? And I went, yeah. Okay, go. So I went, and then I raced back. But got to my house, I didn't park in the driveway, and I didn't go in the garage or anything. I just parked in the front of the house, stopped the car, and then ran in, you know. I just didn't have my cape on. That was good. And I run into the house, and my dog's like on another level higher. We go, and I went, it's okay, it's okay. And then he did it more. He went, oh. And I got the cheese and I ran out. And the poor damn dog, I mean, it's like, anyway, so, but that, you know, that's my dog story. How to be cruel to your dog. Dressed like a Klingon. It's like, yeah.
I know you've been here at least once before. I may have missed you one year. So thanks for making yourself available for this appearance, sir. During your time on TNG and also DS9, did you form any lasting friendships? Like, I think you and JG are actually friends, right, JG?
We're very, very close, yeah. But, you know, I have a lot, you know, we're like a family, and it's, but a lot of people don't realize we knew each other all before, too. Acting world is kind of a small world. It's probably about, in reality, it's probably around 7 to 1,000 people who work in the industry all the time, you know, and that's about it. But, so I've worked with, let's see, Bonnie, same theater group, John Larroquette, same theater group, Armin Shimmerman, I've done Shakespeare with him, I've done Mr. Roberts with Armin, Max I've worked with. So, you know, JG I never worked with outside, but we became close because we had to go through all the same torturous stuff together for so long. And then people would match us up on shows, you know, to do shows together. And he's the grumpy and I'm the happy, you know. And it's like, and we've been doing comedy acts for years. And you know, but that's just, you know, we're like that. Now he's running for Congress. And, yeah, he's running for, look him up and send him money. He needs money to run. It's like, we don't realize how expensive it is to run for these offices, you know. And, but he's running for office, and, you know, he's a mount, you know, and you know, I love him, and he's a good mount, you know. It's like, no side's going to buy him up, you know, so. I don't know if he can get elected with no side giving him money, but, you know, that's the way it is. You know, that's the way JG is. He's Mark Twain, you know, and he's running as Mark Twain. That's kind of a strange way to run, but his persona, he's quoting Mark Twain all the time, what's the quote he uses on his page? He said, Mark Twain's, it's a quote from Mark Twain. You need to change politicians often. The same thing, change them. You need to change, if anybody knows the quote.
Is it politicians are like diapers? You need to change them often and for the same reason?
Say it again.
There you go.
Yes, that's it.
Politicians are like diapers. You need to change them often and for the same reason.
Yes. So that's his, so he's quoting Mark Twain a lot. So go on his site and see if, but there are many, many guys that I've known for years, and now everybody, you know, and so we travel around, you know, a lot of us will go to Australia, you know, get to know each other because we're going to you know, we'll spend 2 weeks in Australia. We don't go for one show in Australia. They match us up with 3 or 4 shows, and then it takes usually 2 weeks to go to Australia. By the time we're ready to leave, we've got Australian time down. You know, we're going to go back and get messed up. It's the worst because you really flip your time zone. So you're like, where am I? What am I? My wife called one day. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and she didn't realize it was 3 o'clock in the morning our time. It was, I don't know what time it was. But I went, sorry. But it's, so we get to know, and now it's been about 30 years since I started doing Star Trek. And the family extends here too, because CareCon, how many years ago was CareCon?
1994? 1994.
1994, and we've known each other since then. It's like the cruises. I don't know how many people are on the cruises here.
I'm going.
Okay. So I'll see you on the cruise, and we hope.
There's several cruises. You mean the official cruise?
Oh, I don't know. The one going out of Miami?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there are companies that have been running Star Trek cruises for years.
Well, right, yeah. I know the one. There's one. And that may be, he's going to do one more, and that may be the last year. Yeah. But, it's like a really large family all over the country, actually all over the world. Star Trek is huge in Germany, huge. I mean, like, how many people have been to Vegas, convention in Vegas? Yeah, almost everybody. Vegas, and then there is the convention in Germany is just as large, and another growing one is in London now. And that we did that about 3 years ago in London, and it was about 40,000 people, almost the same size as Vegas. And that had the 5 captains, and they were doing pictures together. I don't think they do pictures together anymore. They sometimes how those captains. Not like us peaceful Klingons. Photo ops? How long? How far? 5 minutes. 5 minutes to photo ops, if you want to get in there. Any other questions? Yes? Well, they once they I tried to keep it away from them because I didn't want to scare them because they're little kids, they were babies. And then one day I had a picture out on a small table, and because sometimes I sign things, send them to people, and one of my kids went by and he went, Dad. like he knew it was me. He didn't know the name or because they didn't know how to read or anything yet. But then I think one of the friends, saw me, and then the parent talked to them, and they asked this, kindergartners, nursing school, and they came in, they said, we don't like that name. And I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, we want to change your name. My characters said, yeah. They wanted to change. They were probably like 4, and so they wanted to change my name. So they got together and they voted. So I became High Lord Cuckoo Face. So they took all the drama away from me, and even my children make me comedic. So that's what they thought of me. But it put it in the world of reality. It was good for them to have that power over me. High Lord Cuckoo Face. Don't listen to that one. You can't take yourself too seriously. Anybody else? No? Okay. I may do something. I'm going to look quick at all the stuff that I've got. I pretty much, there's a long monologue. Maybe I'll get that tomorrow. But it's been great. Thank you. Come tomorrow.